Hey, what's up, boxing fans? This is the Rope-A-Dope Report coming back at you with another prediction upload. This one will pertain to the Cunningham and Glowacki co-feature for the NBC card coming up this weekend. I will be doing, in fact, I'm going to upload it next. I'll do it next is the Ariel Spence, Chris Algieri, the main event. So I will be doing a video for that, look out for that. But this one is Glowacki against Cunningham. And, you know, the pronunciation of the Polish fighter, the Polish champion now, Glowacki, that's just how I've seen it most. Glowacki, you know, I've seen it a couple of different ways, or heard it, I should say. But Glowacki is what the closest one I've heard consistently, and especially from, you know, professional broadcasters and stuff. So that's what we're going with, folks, okay? Glowacki. And obviously Glowacki will have the Polish fans out in full force. Expected to be a pretty nice crowd. Nothing like 12 or 13,000 or anything like that, but it'll be a nice crowd. It'll be a nice crowd. The lower bowl of the Barclays will have plenty of people in it. And a lot of them will be Polish people. Obviously, you know, a New Yorker, native New Yorker in Algeria, he'll have a nice fan base as well. But Glowacki, you know, really made a statement in the U.S. last August against Marco Huck, who was also fighting here, I believe, for his first time. He's with Al Heyman. Both guys were, you know, are with Al Heyman, obviously. And it was a hell of a fight. I mean, Glowacki started out great in the first couple rounds. Then Huck kind of took the fight over. And I think it was the sixth round. Landed a left hook. Caused a knockdown on Glowacki. And Glowacki didn't look good. He was holding his head kind of weird. He looked hurt. He looked really badly hurt, in my opinion. And it seemed like he was, right? But the first thing he does is first he had to get to his feet. But then he just hauls off. I think it was a right hand right out of the gate, right when the fight, you know, commenced to you know, begin again. And oh my gosh, that was just a great moment in that fight. And it was kind of back and forth after that. You know, I thought he won the next round, but then Huck kind of took it back over, and it was back and forth, and then obviously ending in a dramatic fashion, gets the belt, knocks out Huck down on the scorecards in the 11th round. Just a great fun fight. Good-ass fight from last August. That was on Spike. And Huck, I believe, what was it, 13 or 14 cruiserweight title defenses, something like that. He was going for the record, and Glowacki stopped that. So he definitely made his presence felt, especially when, you know, that was his coming out party. Cunningham, just a veteran in the game, had a really good career at cruiserweight. You know, fought overseas in Germany and other places, but especially Germany. And obviously, you know, stateside, I think it was on Versus at the time. I think it was called Versus. Pretty sure it was, maybe it was the NBC Sports Network already. I don't know. But either way, I think it was on Versus, the first fight with Tomasz Adamek, another Polish fighter, of course, who got great support on the East Coast, Jersey, and New York, and the likes. In Cunningham. I mean, that was a great fight. So Cunningham had a really solid, you know, career at the cruiserweight. Went up to middleweight, fought Tyson Fury, Mansour, fought a variety. Glasgow, fought Adamek again. So he had, I think it was like 8 fights or something like that. But he never was a heavyweight. Even though he did floor, you know, Tyson Fury that time in that fight. He could pop. But he, you know, he's clearly not a heavyweight. So Steve Cunningham now is back to his cruiserweight normal weight. So I think that is very positive. And what a better way, you know, he made a run at it. You know, made a little money. You know, got some fights out of it, no doubt about it. Obviously, some of the decisions didn't go his way. But now he's back, and I think it's a great move to close your career at this more comfortable weight class. As long as you don't come down there and think all of a sudden you have a bunch of power. And, you know, based off the interviews I've heard with him and, of course, his trainer, Nazim Richardson, it sounds like, he's getting that into his head really well. But this fight, man, it matches up on paper great. In fact, it's not really going out on a limb. I do realize that, but I'm going to say it's going to be one of the top fights of the year. Maybe it's top 5, top 10. I think it'll be a fight of the year candidate at the end of the night. And that may be the lead fight of the year, this one right here, after, the weekend. I think it's can't miss. Cunningham likely, of course, will be on the outside. He's got skill. He's got hand speed. He's got pop. He's got the fundamentals, right? But he also has flaws. Some of them, he's just wide open and gets shot when gets hit when he's punching. Some of it is, maybe not bringing that jab back quick enough and getting hit, or just, falling for a good fight and exchanging on somebody. You know what I mean? It is tough to not want to throw more punches because you've gotten some bad decisions in the past, and if it's a tight fight, and a lot of times, and of course, the number one flaw is the chin. Now, not that he's chinny and he just gets knocked out all the time, but he does get knocked down a lot, right? He gets knocked down a whole lot, but he gets back up and fights. In fact, what was that, the Amir Mansour fight? He got knocked down in that fight. It was a hell of a fight. Another good fight. He's been in a lot of good fights. And he had his head damn near resting on the bottom rope. And I'm thinking, Cunningham, Stevie, what are you doing? Are you taking a nap? Or he gets up, fights, and wins the fight. The guy's a fun fighter to watch. He does have skill, but the flaws are there as well. And he actually, ironically, he beat Hook. I'm not going to say in exact similar fashion how that fight went, but he knocked him out in the last round or 11th round too, something like that. So look for him to be on the outside. That jab, right hand, left hook. He's a good fighter, and he better be on his pivot game, and his moving that head, and really just full on upper body movement. He does have skill and can defend himself, but like I said, there's times where he feels either pressure to exchange, or he'll be down on the cards, and have to make up. He's always having to, it seems like anyway, he's always having to make it up from going on the ground. And with Glowacki, especially the way he started and kind of got back into it after a handful of rounds in the middle, really the third to like the sixth, we're going really not good for him against Hook, right? And like I said, that left hook that brought him, knocked him to the ground, he was holding his head and he just didn't look good. When you see a guy like that, maybe it was exactly where the punch landed. That, of course, could have a lot to do with it. But he didn't look like. You kind of looked at him and you're like, man, I don't think he's gonna make it. But then he's just a tough son of a gun. But he does come forward with the jab, a little bit anyway. He brings that steady pressure, but it's somewhat responsible. He does punch to the stomach and not just body shots with hooks. Sometimes a jab. He mixes up his punches to the head and body, I think, pretty well. And he's got power, obviously. He shook up Hook a couple times in that fight and ultimately, obviously, knocked him out. He's got in my mind, he's just a hard-nosed, come-forward guy, but he's not completely just a mindless brawler. But he's going to get hit a lot, it looks like, as he comes. So the style, it matches up. It really does. And I can't help to think of the fight I mentioned earlier, Adamick and Cunningham, the first one. I could see it playing out similar to that fight. Now, obviously, I realize the expectations in the bar I just set for this fight. I'm not trying to say it's going to be that nuts of a fight. But as far as the style in which it's fought, I could see maybe Cunningham outlanding him on the CompuBox, right? I could see him winning 7-5, or just or in the individual round, winning a round and then get hurt or knocked down. That's the way I see it playing out. And I think we'll see a pretty damn steady fight. You know, this cruiserweight division is really, for years now, it's been undervalued, underestimated. It's not middleweight, light heavyweight. It's not, of course, the welterweights and the lighter weights that have a lot more popularity. It's not heavyweight, which is obviously growing now with the fights on the horizon with the UK and Australia and America. A lot of fights going to happen there. But for whatever reason, and there's plenty of them, it just hasn't, this division, cruiserweight, has been overlooked, clearly. And it produces a lot of good fights over the last handful of years. It really, really has. So anyway, I'm going to go with Glowacki, but I'm going to go decision. I think that Cunningham won't make the mistake of pulling straight back as much as Hook did. Because you can even tell, I went back and looked at that fight a while back, but I even looked at the notes, and I could even see a little warning signs in a couple of rounds that I wrote down that Marco Hook keeps, pulling straight back, and we know that you can't do that. You cannot pull straight back just as much as he was, and so I could see Cunningham maybe getting caught there, but I think we'll see more pivot. He needs to throw in combination though and stay busy to win those rounds. But like I said, it wouldn't even shock me if it was 6-6 or 7-5 in favor of Cunningham, but a knockdown or two wins the fight for Glowacki. So I'm going to say a majority decision for Glowacki. We're going to talk a little bit more detail, and you'll get a more range of opinion on the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast this Wednesday. It's live 6 on the West, 9 on the East, and 2 UK time. Big shouts out to the UK. Great crowd there at the O2 Arena this last weekend for Anthony Joshua's destruction of Charles Martin. So also give a follow on Twitter at Rope-A-Dope Radio, and enjoy the fights. Peace.